Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over two winter storms which are going to be moving throughout parts of the Rockies and the Plains, as well as another snowstorm which is going to be taking place over parts of the Northeast, especially over central and northern New England, mainly in the higher elevation regions. And overnight model guidance has really upped some of these numbers in parts of the Northeast and also in that second snowstorm in the Rockies and the Plains. We're going to have your snowfall forecast for the first system, and we're also going to be discussing the model snowfall for the second system as well. So we have a lot of information to go over, so let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. You can see that we already have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for much of Wyoming, a little bit of Nebraska, South Dakota, Utah, and even one county in southern Idaho. We have red flag warnings in effect for northern Arizona, western New Mexico, western Colorado, and southern Utah as well. And then we also have some scattered wind advisories through southern Arizona and southern California, as well as a few more back up through Utah and Idaho. And then more flood watches back through southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama as well. Yesterday we had a national high temperature in Death Valley, California, where they got to 99 degrees Fahrenheit, and a low temperature which was tied between two areas, both in Wyoming. 18 miles east-southeast of Shell, Wyoming, they got to 2 degrees Fahrenheit, and 15 miles west-southwest of Buffalo, Wyoming, they also got to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation or rainfall report was in Jupiter, Florida, where they got 1.69 inches of rainfall. And the high snowfall report was tied between two areas as well, 3 miles south of Crosby, North Dakota, and 1 mile south of Noonan, North Dakota. Both of those areas got 9.5 inches of snowfall, and I'm just seeing this on my screen. I didn't realize it before, but they actually did put up already some winter storm watches up in western Massachusetts and southern Vermont as well. So here is what the European model is showing for this event. We're going to play through this European model and just show you what it's expecting. You have a big upper level low, which is by this point right back through here, but that's going to be moving to the south. So areas that are north and west of this, which is mainly going to be the areas back through this area right here, is where you're going to be dealing with the actual bulk of the snowfall. And this looks much different than what we were expecting just a few days ago, where before the center was going to be over this area, northeastern Pennsylvania and southern New York, and now it looks like it's going to be more centered over New England and some of these areas right here. So we really have a much different solution, but the models are starting to come together since we are getting closer to the event. So this is by Thursday morning. Still all rain here for parts of New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and then back through a little bit of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, all the way down to the Mid-Atlantic as well. Heavier rain is now starting to take place. This is important because that heavier rain is going to be able to bring down colder air from further up in the atmosphere. So here's your low pressure by this point. It's spinning about. This is a huge upper level low pressure. So it's spinning around somewhat like this, and then if we continue to play this out, you're going to see that some of that snow is now starting to occur due to that dynamic cooling in the atmosphere. So for southern Vermont and the Green Mountains, the Adirondacks, and also into the Catskills, that's what we're dealing with. Some of that snowfall is starting to break out, mainly in elevated areas over 2,000 feet when right around Thursday night. And of course, that elevation cap is going to continue to lower and lower, so even some of the valley floors might start to get in on some of the snowfall in just a little bit. Now here's a good demonstration of what I'm talking about with dynamic cooling. So this is the 925 HPA temperature in Celsius, and this is maybe just 500 to 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere, so really close to the surface. The surface temperatures are right around 34, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, even in some of the higher elevations. So you're right around 1 degree, 2 degrees Celsius there. So you're about 3 degrees cooler, even if you just go up 500 to 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And that's below freezing in all of these areas right here. But what I think is really important is that when you look at the 850 temperatures, which is just about 2 to 4,000 feet up in the atmosphere, I would say. And you're looking at temperatures that are much colder. You have that 0 degree line, which covers pretty much the entire Northeast, except for a little cutout in parts of southeastern New England. And you also have more of that very cold air, which is right around -4 to -6 degrees Celsius back through there. So as you're getting heavy precipitation, I'm going to kind of draw a little demonstration on the side. So here's your cloud right here. It's raining in the atmosphere, very heavy rain at times, and with that you're getting a lot of wind as well, that's coming down from the upper parts of the atmosphere, transferring down to the lower parts of the atmosphere. With that, some of that rain, moisture, and wind is getting transferred with a little bit of cold air, so you're getting a little bit of dynamic cooling. So by the time that you actually reach the surface, it actually turns into a little bit more of snow instead of rain. So really an interesting type of setup right here, with how we have a much colder upper part of the atmosphere and then a shallow area of very warm temperatures. Luckily, not a lot of ice with this type of system because it's kind of inverted from a typical freezing rain setup, so not a lot to deal with in terms of ice, but it's that very heavy wet snowfall that we're really worried about with this type of system. We're looking at snowfall rates of about 2 to 3 inches per hour by Friday early in the morning, and that's for eastern New York, central, southern Vermont as well, even into northern Vermont, western New Hampshire, western Mass, and also into northern Connecticut, starting to mix in with some of that snowfall, according to what the European model is showing. And then here's by Friday later on in the morning hours. So I would say this is right around 7 to 9 in the morning. And we're looking at more of that snow, especially back through New Hampshire and Vermont. And now starting to translate a little bit more into Massachusetts and Connecticut. And then continuing this forward a little bit more. This is by later on Friday. So right around 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you're looking at some rather light to moderate snowfall back through northern New Hampshire, western Maine, eastern Vermont, also into eastern New York as well, still lingering on into some areas in southern New England. And then turns into more of a northern New England type of system. Here's your low pressure right through here. We have some colder air still reserved to the north, so you're dealing with snow back through those areas. And by the way, on the backside, you will have some rather chilly air along with this storm. And then that system continues to head further east. This is by Saturday morning. Here's by the early afternoon. And it's mainly a mixture of rain and snow as you get back into upper and northern Maine. Here's what the European model is showing for snowfall, and this is adjusted for the temperature profiles in the atmosphere. You can see that we have a huge swath of 6+ inches that is forecasted for much of eastern New York, western Massachusetts, southern, pretty much the entire part of Vermont, through much of New Hampshire as well, and then through the central area of Maine. That's where we're dealing with the potential of 6+ inches. Then you want to look back through the Berkshires and also the Green Mountains, where we have potentially up to 12 to 18 inches of snowfall, and even you can see Mount Washington there reporting 24 inches according to the European model. So the Mount Washington, I believe, is about 5,000-6,000 feet up in elevation, so it's a very, very highly elevated area in the Northeast, but still very high snowfall amounts over the entire part of northern New England and even into parts of central New England as well. GFS model, not as much snowfall as you get into the northern tier of the Northeast, but you go through central New England, and this is where it kind of shows the bullseye. Also for southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, Massachusetts as well, but it's just not as pronounced as what the European model is showing. And then we have the NAM model, which was really very good at predicting this initial shift in the models. This is the first model that kind of brought the bulk of the snowfall further to the north and to the east, where before we were dealing with some of the models showing the heaviest snowfall back through here, some of the models showing the heaviest snowfall back through here. Now most of the models are centered over this area right here, being in the bullseye for the snowfall. So you can see what the NAM is showing, and you have amounts maybe up to 20 inches. I think that's overboard. I think you can maybe subtract about a quarter of whatever snowfall you see on your screen right now, and that could be a decent estimate right now. But you see we have some at least very decent snowfall numbers for mid-April. Now, this is not a late January or early February type of snowstorm in the heart of winter where this wouldn't be as noticeable and really would just be marked off as one of those more intense systems, but nothing too crazy. This is definitely a intense system for mid-April with a lot of snowfall for this time of year as well. Here's my snowfall forecast, and I haven't made one of these in quite a while just because we haven't had any snowstorms to talk about. Under an inch of snowfall anywhere in New England, eastern New York, and then also I put in for northern Michigan and even a little bit of northern Wisconsin as well to get in on under an inch of snowfall. So that's mainly just from lake effect and back end snowfall, but I do want to include it in there as well for my viewers in the upper Great Lakes. 1 to 3 inches of snowfall is expected back through much of eastern New York, especially in higher elevations, so you get away from the Hudson River on either side, and that's where it really looks like you'll be dealing with 1+ inch accumulations, and that covers all of central and northern New England as well. Here's that 3 to 6 inch area that covers the Catskills, the Adirondacks, back through the entire state of Vermont, New Hampshire, western Massachusetts, even a little bit of northwestern Connecticut into parts of central Maine as well. And then here's that 6+ inches, the 6 to 12 inch area. And I think for the Adirondacks, not the Catskills, I think the Catskills will probably just stay within that 3 to 6 inch region, but the Adirondacks, the Green Mountains, the White Mountains, the Berkshires, back through central Maine as well. This is where I'm looking at 6 to 12 inches of snowfall for these areas. And then here's my 12 to 18 inch area that covers the Berkshires in western Massachusetts, central southern Vermont and the Green Mountains, and then back through into the White Mountains in central New Hampshire. That's where I think you'll get 12 to 18 inches of snowfall. Some notable mentions, I think Mount Washington, like the European model was showing, maybe 20+ inches of snowfall. So there could be some higher peaks and elevations, especially in the White Mountains and in the Green Mountains, that could see over 18 inches out of a system like this one. Here's what the GFS model is showing for our next system, which is going to be taking place mainly over this area right here. It's going to be impacting some big cities like Cheyenne, Wyoming, Denver, Colorado, Loveland, Colorado, North Platte, Nebraska. So some of these bigger cities in the Central Plains and also into the Central Rockies that could be impacted with some fairly decent snowfall accumulation. So this is by Thursday morning, the same exact time that we're dealing with that snow back through the Northeast. We're dealing with more snow back through the Rockies. So again, by Thursday morning, we're dealing with more snow. Thursday early afternoon, still snowing over many of these areas in Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, and South Dakota. It starts to strengthen a little bit as you get this deepening low pressure, which is over areas like Santa Fe and Albuquerque in northern New Mexico. You can see very strong winds, by the way. If you live in western Texas, eastern New Mexico, eastern Colorado, watch out for some very strong winds with these compacted isobars right there. That's probably one of the reasons that we have some red flag warnings up through some of those areas right now for fire danger, because of how gusty those winds are going to be. You can see all of that snow back through parts of the Central Plains and the Central Rockies. Really strong snowfall bands back through into northeastern Colorado and into southwestern Nebraska as well. Now that is a more localized type of event, so we can't really forecast that too much. The GFS on previous runs was showing that band of snow really back through here, but what we're seeing now is that the European model is really winning out, where we're seeing more of a center over this area right here where that band might set up. So really, wherever that first deepening intense band of rainfall / snowfall sets up is going to play a big factor into how much snowfall some of these areas see. One of the bigger issues here, and one of the bigger forecasting issues I've been having, is over the cities like North Platte, Nebraska, which I believe is right somewhere right here. They're right on that rain snow line. So a few degrees warmer, a couple degrees cooler could make a huge difference in this type of scenario. Maybe just a few tenths of a degree colder or warmer. So you guys are going to be right on that line. I know I have a couple viewers from that area, so I really do want to do good on that forecast for those areas. And if, by the way, if you have any questions, or if you want a forecast for your area, just leave a comment down below and I'll respond fairly quickly with a forecast or a response to your question. This is by Friday morning, and you can see more of that light to moderate, even heavy snowfall times now going through parts of northwest Nebraska, into parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and also into Nebraska as well. And then by Friday early afternoon, still lightly and moderately snowing back through mainly Nebraska and Kansas. So it gets colder throughout the day as you get a little bit of a pinch of cold air into parts of the Rockies and the Great Plains as well. And then it switches over to rain and moves out by later on Friday. So I think by the evening commute, you should be done with the storm for the most part in most of these areas. But you will still have some road issues, mainly just because they still have to clear out all that snowfall. So this is what the European model is showing for the snowfall totals. And you can see that some rather big centers, again, like Denver, Colorado, Loveland, Colorado, Cheyenne, Wyoming, North Platte, Nebraska, all these areas could be seeing 6+ inches of snowfall. It actually looks like some of these localities, such as Boulder or Denver, could be stuck within a little bit of a hole of snowfall. But either way, it looks like some snowfall in many of these areas, especially over Wyoming, northern Colorado, western Nebraska, and northwest Kansas. So that's the European model, and then here's what the GFS is showing. So you can see still fairly similar, but what I was talking about with that predicament over what North Platte, Nebraska in particular, and some of these areas in central Nebraska are going to see. Here's that 3-inch number for North Platte right there, and you can see how the European model had 6 or 7 inches. Now the GFS is showing 2 or 3 inches. So there is a lot of discrepancy, especially over this area right here, on where exactly that heaviest snowfall is going to set up and where that rain snow line is going to set up. But if you do get into the band, you can see that the GFS is showing that potentially some of these areas could get up to 12 to maybe 15, 16, even 17 or 18 inches of snowfall. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.